There's a lot of rumors swirling around about this PPP warrant list and whether or not this is true. There is, in fact, a PPP warrant list. And this is a list of people who they've investigated who committed PPP fraud that they're coming after. The thing about the list is that it's not public. You know, this is something that law enforcement do, in fact, have. Based off the sheer volume of people who committed fraud, it's going to take years to come after everyone, right? And what they've done, they've prioritized sort of the low-hanging fruit. And when I say low-hanging fruit, I mean the cut and dry cases, right? Where you create a fictitious business, you were on government assistance, and you got PPP, fake businesses, things like that. Now that Trump is in office, or about to be in office, it's going to get a lot worse. And the thing about the PPP fraud is that it's a bipartisan effort. You know you're in trouble when both Democrats and Republicans come together to prosecute you for fraud.
So lastly, we have a trucking company owner who has been arrested and sentenced for PPP loan fraud, along with a multitude of other felonies. Let's take a look. Missouri truck company owner gets 9 years for PPP fraud and other felonies. Consummate fraudster was found guilty on 22 counts, including Clean Air Act violations. Christopher Lee Carroll, the Missouri man who set up a trucking company as part of a broader scheme to fraudulently obtain loans under the pandemic-driven Paycheck Protection Plan, has been sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. A jury convicted Carroll in September of 3 counts of bank fraud, 3 counts of making false statements to a financial institution, 1 count of conspiracy to violate the Clean Air Act, 13 violations of the Clean Air Act, and 2 counts of threatening a witness. Carroll was convicted and sentenced in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri. He was also ordered to pay $3 million in restitution. Carroll and his business partner, George Reed, owned a timeshare exit company. They submitted their request for $1.2 million in PPP loan, claiming in it that Square One was owned not by Carroll and Reed, but by their spouses, according to a recap of the case released by the U.S. Attorney's Office. As a convicted felon for earlier activities, Carroll would not have been eligible for a PPP loan. Carroll used the money to set up a trucking company, Whiskey Dick's Big Truck Repair, LLC. With the company established, the U.S. Attorney said Carroll and Reed applied for loan forgiveness, claiming they spent the money on payroll and other permitted expenses. The pair applied for a second loan of $1.6 million. It was approved and they took $660,000 in what the U.S. Attorney referred to as owner draws. The charges of violating the Clean Air Act came from Carroll's plan to disable emission-controlled equipment to increase the vehicle's mileage. Carroll asked one employee to take the fall for his crimes and told another that he would stop paying for the employee's lawyer if he talked to federal agents. Evidence and testimony showed. According to the U.S. Attorney, Carroll did stop paying for the lawyer. In the sentencing memo, the U.S. Attorney called Carroll a consummate fraudster. Previous convictions were for felonious restraint and forcible sodomy. Unlike Carroll, who went to trial, Reed, 70, pleaded guilty in September 2022 to the charges lodged against him. His sentence at the time was for time served. So it looks like the trucking industry has not been excluded from PPP loan fraud, and the government is coming after all who fraudulently accepted those funds.